Hello and welcome. This is a recording of Pluto, the megaesophagus dog, having his dinner. His dinner consists of dried kibble, science plan to be exact, which is soaked overnight and then mashed up in the morning to create a nice fluffy consistency. Then with half a can of dog food, it is then mushed together and formed into meatballs, using as much water as needed to get the consistency so it doesn't all just fall apart. So, 6 meatballs. He has this twice a day, sits in his chair, and he swallows them whole. It's worked for 6 years, this method, to get the food from his throat to his stomach, and he gained weight with this method and he maintained his weight with this method. And it wasn't until recently that Pluto stopped eating like this. He, we believe, had esophagitis, which is a very sore esophagus, and he was unable to swallow. He tried, but he couldn't do it. So the ball wouldn't go all the way down. He would generally kind of squish it in half, and as you can see here, the ball goes straight down. You can see it in his throat. Well, that stopped happening, and he would only eat about half of the ball, and of course that's just not good enough. He wouldn't eat a whole ball, then he wouldn't eat a whole meal, and his weight dropped rapidly. So we had to find a new method of getting food into his stomach. But this way, for any new megaesophagus dog owners out there, this I believe to be the best possible way of getting food into the dog. If you can teach them this way, then this is the way I would advise. It is also fantastic if they need antibiotics in a pill form, or any other pills for that matter. Because the ball is swallowed whole, the pill goes in, the dog doesn't have a clue. And that's a lot easier than trying to give a dog a pill in a pill form. So yeah, I mean, these feeds can take anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. It depends on the dog, whether the dog's in the mood or not. I mean, it's not the greatest way to eat. Pluto generally took between those times. He picks the time that he wants to be fed. He will quite often let us know. Usually it's around 10 in the morning and 5 o'clock in the evening. He comes and gets us, gets himself in his chair, and we know, right, we better feed him then. We want to feed him when he wants to be fed. Makes everything a lot easier. Once he has eaten his food, he then stays in the chair for 10 to 15 minutes. It was 10 minutes for a long time. We upped that to 15 minutes after a few years due to some kind of on-off regurgitation, and we thought maybe it's 10 minutes was not long enough now for the food to actually get all the way through his esophagus and down into his stomach. Now every dog's going to be different in those terms, and we did discover that when Pluto does get stressed, i.e. someone was at the house that Pluto didn't know, or he had been scared on a walk, he would produce a lot more slobber and a lot more saliva, and it was usually the next night or so that he would regurgitate some of his dinner that had been caught up in all this slobber and saliva, which of course just goes into his esophagus and stays there. It's like an egg white consistency, and it catches his food like it's a net, and it would just come up the next day. So he would lose a meal or two just due to stress, which is rubbish. So we did kind of find that out. Maybe that had something to do with it more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes in the chair after he's finished feeding. So the thing then to do is to occupy the dog while it's in the chair. You can't just leave him there. So usually we just sit down with him, fuss his ears, sing stupid songs to him, you know, the kind of stuff. We also offer him chews, which there is footage of that as well, and we have trained him every time he bites a piece of chew off to try and spit it out. So there's that. That wasn't the easiest thing to train, but Pluto got it pretty handily. I don't think every dog is going to do that. If they get a chew and the opportunity to swallow pieces of that chew, they will swallow pieces of that chew. And with a megaesophagus dog, it doesn't matter how much gravity you've got. That will end up in a pocket and you will see it again. So yeah, as I said, this worked for a long time. Best method, I feel, we had going for him. And it's very easy to make.
Good boy, well done.
Just left overnight, and then more hot water in the morning. We boiled all the water in the kettle, and we used that to mash it up. As you can see, he's finished eating now. So I've checked the time. 10 minutes starts rolling now, or 15. He licks off the food from the gloves, and then he would just be in here for 10 minutes of chewing and pondering why he has to eat in the chair, why every other dog doesn't. So, there. As far as treats go, we on occasion have given him things like chicken, which we've regretted because that's come back up. He has had like a Christmas dinner, a mini Christmas dinner before, that kind of thing, and as long as it is in a ball form, it tended to work. He certainly got excited about it, but things like baked bean juice in a bowl, he can lick that up and that goes down fine. And things like that seem to work, whereas other things like chicken, pieces of chicken breast, they never seem to work. They always come back. For a long time when we first had Pluto, we were actually giving him Dentasticks. And the Dentasticks were a kind of 50-50 whether they were going to stay down or not. He really loved them, and we eventually stopped giving him Dentasticks simply because the regurgitations got more, and every single time he was regurgitating there was a piece or two pieces of the Dentastick that he had with his food, so it was becoming a problem that he couldn't seem to get parts of a Dentastick that he had chewed into his stomach, so we had to stop giving him that. And I think when it comes to a megaesophagus dog, what works, just stick to it. Just stick to it. Don't change it. Don't try to fix something that isn't broken. If it's working, just stick to it. Don't change anything until it's not working. And I think that's the best piece of advice I can give anyone. Once you find the formula that is working, that is either putting weight on or maintaining the weight that he's got once he's put it on, stick to it. Do not change it. Routine, everything. Because it can change very fast. When things do go wrong, it can change extremely fast, and you need to adapt to this situation and try many other things, and a lot of them will fail. And it's not very nice seeing your dog just basically starve himself through no fault of his own. So, yeah, stick to it. This right now is his chew. He will stare at me as if I've given him poison, but it is just a simple rawhide chew. We dip it in the science plan dry kibble, and it picks up the dust from that, and he licks that up until he gets in the mood to chew it, and then he'll just sit there and gnaw on it until it gets all gooey and nasty, and then I will change it out for a new chew, hopefully before he's bitten it off. And we do that for 10 minutes. So it's not exactly the most entertaining thing on the planet, but by doing this it also keeps him sat upright in the chair a bit more rather than slumped over, which I always feel in the long run is better for the dog to be upright than slumped. No idea if I'm right about that or not, but he doesn't seem to mind. Anyway, I shall stop waffling on, and hope this was useful, and I shall leave you with the footage of Pluto enjoying his chew. Good night. rubbish tube, is it? Mm-hmm. Completely different from the other one. Still rubbish? It must be good now. No, it's not rubbish anymore.